I helped my husband's brother avoid jail by paying off his fines. A month later, I found out they'd used my credit to take out a loan without telling me. You said you were part of the family, my husband said. This is what family does. I sat down, quiet. Then I pulled up our bank statements and noticed something that. I'm 39, been married to Dean for 7 years. We live in Peoria, Illinois. I work in medical billing for a small clinic, nothing fancy. Dean's a contractor, mostly small jobs. Kitchens, patios, drywall. We don't have kids. Tried for a few years, then stopped trying. It was hard, but we moved on. At least, I thought we did. Jason is Dean's younger brother. He's 31, barely keeps a job longer than a few weeks, and always manages to get into trouble. I never liked him much. He drinks too much, he lies, and he's always broke. But Dean has a soft spot for him. He's family, he'd say every single time Jason screwed up. Family takes care of each other. Yeah. That phrase is still ringing in my ears. Anyway, back in January, Dean came home looking nervous. Said Jason was facing jail time because of unpaid DUI fines. Over $7,000. Dean didn't have it. Neither did Jason. I told Dean it wasn't our problem. We had bills of our own, credit card debt, and I was trying to save for a new car since mine was falling apart. But Dean kept pushing. Said it would just be temporary. That we'd use our tax refund to pay it off. He needed my help. Not just help. He needed me to put it on my credit card. Because Jason had burnt his own, and Dean's credit was crap too. I hesitated, but Dean looked at me like I was a stranger. You always say we're a team, he said. Then be on my team. So I caved. I used my card. $7,215. I still remember the exact number. It hurt, but I did it for Dean. For our marriage. Because that's what you're supposed to do, right? A month later, I got a letter from a credit union. I remember standing in the kitchen with the envelope in my hand. Thinking maybe it was junk. I opened it. It said, "Thank you for your recent loan application. Congratulations." My heart dropped. I had not applied for a loan. $18,000. Under my name. My social. My email. All correct. I called the credit union immediately. The woman on the phone was polite, but firm. We processed the loan online. Everything checked out. Email was confirmed. Bank info matched. I told her it wasn't me. Then she paused. Was the application made from this IP address? She read it out. I didn't recognize the numbers. But I knew someone who might. When Dean got home, I asked him straight up. Did you apply for a loan in my name? He looked at me like I was the crazy one. Then, without blinking, he said, I did it with Jason. He needed the money. We didn't want to ask you again after you already helped with the fines. We figured you'd get upset. I was speechless. He sat down like nothing had happened. Turned on the TV. Just said, you said you were part of the family. This is what family does. I didn't say anything. Not at first. I just sat down at the kitchen table and opened up my laptop. I logged into our bank account. That's when I saw the two withdrawals. One was for $5,000. The other was $3,200. Both labeled as transfers. But not to Jason. To an account I didn't recognize. The name listed was Angela Crawford. I'd never heard that name in my life. I asked Dean. He didn't even hesitate. She's a subcontractor I hired. For design stuff. Don't worry about it. That didn't sit right. So the next day, on my lunch break, I called the bank and asked for details on the account. The woman I spoke to said she couldn't give too much info, but I gave her the last 4 digits and explained I was checking for fraud. She paused, then said, that account is registered to an Angela Crawford. Morton, Illinois. That's 15 minutes away. I didn't know what I was looking for. But I drove there. I parked outside the house linked to the account. It was a small duplex. Nice front porch. Clean yard. I waited about 20 minutes before a woman came out. Mid to late 20s. Brunette. Pregnant. She looked like she was in her third trimester. She drove to a cafe nearby. I followed her in and sat a few tables behind her. She met a friend. I listened in. I couldn't hear everything, but one line stood out so loud I nearly choked on my coffee. I told Dean I need more for the baby. He said he's trying to figure something out. I sat there frozen. That was my husband's name. She wasn't talking about her Dean. There was only one Dean who emptied my account and sent her $8,000. I went home. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I watched him eat dinner. I looked at his face and realized I didn't know him at all. I started collecting proof. I pulled credit reports, bank statements, text logs, everything. I even started recording conversations on my phone. I had no idea what I was going to do yet, but I knew I had to be ready. 2 days later, Jason called Dean while we were in the living room. Speakerphone. I heard everything. Jason, man, you gotta help me out again. I got a chance at this truck, but I need like $3,000. Dean, let me talk to her. I'll figure something out. Me. Her. He was still talking about me like I was the damn bank. I went upstairs and locked the door. That night, I told him I needed to go visit my sister in Springfield. Said I needed some air. A break. He didn't question it. I packed a bag and left. But I didn't go to Springfield. I went to a lawyer. I spent almost 5 hours at the lawyer's office. Her name was Michelle Barker. She looked like someone who didn't take crap from anyone. I handed her everything. Statements, loan papers, recordings, printouts. She sat there flipping through the stack, her face unreadable. Finally, she looked up and said, "You've got enough here to bury him." Those were her exact words. She walked me through the divorce process, what to expect, what it would cost, how long it might take. I told her I wasn't just trying to end my marriage, I wanted to hit back. Hard. I wanted the fraud charges to stick. I wanted the bank to know I wasn't involved in the loan. I wanted my name cleared. She told me to stop all communication with Dean and Jason. No more warning. No more trying to talk sense into them. Just document everything and let the hammer fall. I agreed. But part of me still needed closure. So I did something I maybe shouldn't have. I went back to Angela's place. This time, I didn't sit in the car. I knocked on the door. She opened it, slowly. I introduced myself. Told her I was Dean's wife. Her face changed instantly. Her hand went to her stomach like she needed to protect herself. She didn't invite me in, but she stepped outside and shut the door behind her. I told her the truth. I told her I'd just filed for divorce. That Dean and Jason had stolen from me. That the money she got was mine. That the loan was in my name. Angela's eyes filled up, but she didn't cry. She said, "He told me you two split last summer. Said he was just waiting for the papers to go through. I didn't know about any of this." I believed her. Then she said something that made everything worse. "I didn't even want this baby. But he begged me to keep it. Promised me we'd be a family." I didn't say anything. I couldn't. I just handed her my lawyer's card and told her she'd probably be hearing from someone soon. She nodded. Quietly. That was it. I went home and started packing my things. Dean wasn't there. He'd gone to help Jason move some stuff. His phone was blowing up. I didn't answer. I turned it off and left it on the kitchen table with my wedding ring. Then I took a picture of the table, ring and phone together, and texted it to him from my own phone with one line, "You'll be hearing from my lawyer." The next few days were a blur. Dean showed up at my job twice. Security made him leave both times. Then he started calling from different numbers. He even had Jason call and pretend to be a concerned friend, thinking I wouldn't recognize his voice. They were panicking. The loan was being investigated. The bank froze the funds. Jason had apparently already spent some of it and now couldn't pay it back. Angela cut off contact with Dean after I talked to her. She must have figured out he'd lied to her too. Then came the final twist I didn't expect. Michelle, my lawyer, called and told me she pulled Dean's financials during the divorce filing. There was another account. One I didn't know about. Dean had been siphoning money from our joint account every couple of months. Small amounts, $400 here, $600 there. Over a year, it added up to more than $6,000. She showed me the withdrawals. Same ATM in Bloomington. Always done on Sunday mornings when I was at church. I was sick. I didn't even go to church for religious reasons. I went to get some peace. To think. And the whole time, he was emptying my pockets behind my back. Michelle asked if I wanted to press charges for that, too. I didn't even hesitate. But things got even worse. Jason got arrested again. This time for driving without a license and resisting arrest. He tried to run. Didn't get far. They held him on bail, and guess what? He called me. From jail. Had the nerve to say, "Look, I know things got crazy, but can you just post bail? I'll pay you back." I laughed. For the first time in weeks, I actually laughed out loud. Then I hung up. That was the moment I knew I was never going back. Not to Dean. Not to that family. Not to the mess they dragged me into. But I also knew I wasn't done yet. I had more to uncover. More to expose. I had no idea yet what Dean had been hiding in that secret account, or if there were more lies I hadn't caught. But I was about to find out. About a week after Jason got locked up, I got a plain envelope in the mail. No return address. Inside was a single sheet of paper. A printout. One line stood out in bold, circled in red ink. $2,500 transfer to Crawford Enterprises LLC. I stared at it. It was from a business account. Not mine. Not our joint. Another account I'd never seen before. I sat down and called Michelle. She told me to come in right away. We met in her office that evening. She went through the document, cross-referenced some info, and looked up the LLC. Angela Crawford had registered it 6 months ago. But the registered agent? Was Dean. I felt like the floor dropped out from under me. This wasn't just an affair. This was planned. He'd set up a business with her, behind my back, and was funneling money into it. The loan. The bank withdrawals. The cash he skimmed off our joint account. Even the money I'd used to cover Jason's fines. It was all feeding into that. A fake business. Michelle was pissed. She said this changed everything. It showed intent. Fraud wasn't just a poor decision anymore. It was a plan. And now there were business records to prove it. I wanted to scream. But I didn't. I didn't give Dean that power. Instead, I did something else. I contacted Angela. Again. This time, I wasn't angry. I told her everything. About the LLC. The transfers. The paper trail. She broke. Told me Dean had promised they'd go legit together. He said the business was just a way to move money until the divorce went through. She didn't know it was fraud. She thought it was a real company. She said all the money went into that account, and Dean handled it. She never even had a debit card. Then she dropped another bomb. Dean had told her they'd move to Arizona after the baby was born. He was already looking at houses. She showed me texts. Zillow links. Flight confirmations. All dated while I was still living with him, still thinking we were fixing things. This man wasn't just cheating. He was erasing me. And trying to start over using my name, my credit, and my money. 2 days later, Dean finally broke and called from a number I didn't recognize. I answered. "You win," he said. "Okay? You win." I lost my job. Angela's gone. I don't have anything left. Can we just talk? I said nothing. He kept going. I messed up. I know I did. But we were struggling. I thought I was helping Jason. I thought I was helping us. I didn't mean for it to get this bad. I asked him one question. Did you ever plan on telling me? He paused. Then, quietly, no, I hung up. But the surprises weren't over. That night, I got a call from Michelle. She sounded rattled. There's something else, she said. Apparently, while going through the discovery process, she found out Dean had taken out another loan in my name, months earlier. $6,000. This one was through an online lending site. Small payments, spread out over time. It hadn't shown up on my main credit report yet because the payments were still current. Meaning he'd been paying it off. Quietly. With my money. From our joint account. This had started long before Jason's emergency. That was just the excuse. Dean had been stealing from me for over a year. And the worst part? He might have gotten away with all of it if he'd just stopped with that one loan. But he got greedy. He added Jason. He added Angela. He built a whole fake business. And that's when it all unraveled. I started piecing together the timeline with Michelle. First loan, August of last year. $6,000. Applied online. First transfer to Angela's LLC, October. Fake business registered, December. I paid off Jason's fines, January. They pulled out the big $18,000 loan in my name, February. Angela confirms Dean was planning a fresh start in Arizona by June. He was trying to leave me high and dry. Stick me with the debt. Start a whole new life. With her. With the baby. With a business funded by money he stole from me. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I went silent. Because now I had everything I needed. Evidence. Witnesses. Intent. Fraud. And a lawyer who was just as angry as I was. And I wasn't going to stop until Dean, and everyone who helped him, paid for what they did. The court date came fast. Dean thought I was bluffing. Right up until he was served with the lawsuit and the fraud charges, two separate things. One was for the divorce, and one was for the loan fraud tied to both the credit union and the secret business. Jason was still sitting in county jail for his own stuff, so he wasn't much help to Dean. Angela, to her credit, cooperated. She turned over emails, texts, and even the laptop Dean had used to set up the LLC. The entire case was built brick by brick, with her help and Michelle's work. Angela also agreed to testify in exchange for immunity. Dean had no clue she flipped on him. At the first court hearing, he walked in with his head up like he was going to explain everything away. Then he saw Angela sitting behind the prosecutor. He looked like he'd been shot. It only got worse from there. The court case took 3 months. During that time, Dean tried to file paperwork to make it look like the LLC was Angela's idea and that I had agreed verbally to the loan. But the emails and bank trails told the truth. One message he sent her said, "Don't worry. Once the loan hits, I'll have her cover it. She's so passive she won't even notice." The judge saw that. Saw the transfers. Saw the hidden bank account. Saw the timing. Saw everything. He ruled that the loan was criminal fraud and handed the case over to the DA. Dean was arrested outside the courthouse. That was one of the most satisfying moments of my life. Watching him try to talk his way out of handcuffs while his lawyer just stood there, not saying a word. But I didn't stop there. Remember that secret business account tied to Crawford Enterprises LLC? Angela let my lawyer access the records. Turns out Dean had been moving money between that account and another one in a completely different state, Minnesota. He was trying to hide funds. Probably for his new life. I brought this to the credit union's attention. They added it to their investigation and filed another fraud claim. So now Dean had multiple charges: wire fraud, identity theft, bank fraud, misuse of business accounts, all felonies. The DA said Dean was looking at 8 to 12 years if convicted on all counts. He ended up taking a plea deal. 5 years minimum, 3 with good behavior. Jason ended up serving 6 months in jail for his charges, then another 6 months in a court-ordered rehab program. That was part of his plea deal. Angela moved out of Illinois before the sentencing. I don't know where she went, and honestly, I don't care. She gave up her part in exchange for her testimony, and she gave birth a month after Dean went to jail. I got a card in the mail after the trial. No return address. Inside was a picture of her baby girl and one line, "Thank you for saving me before it was too late." I put it in a drawer and haven't looked at it since. As for me? It took almost a year to fix my credit. The $18,000 loan was dropped from my record after the fraud claim was upheld. I never got any of that money back, but at least I wasn't responsible for paying it. The original $7,215 I used to cover Jason's fines? Gone. I had to eat that. No one reimbursed me. That was my loss. And I took it as a lesson. I sold our house. I moved to a smaller apartment outside Springfield. Started over. Quiet. Simple. But peaceful. And I made myself a promise, no more fixing other people. No more being the team player when the other side's playing dirty. I stopped letting guilt make decisions for me. Dean wrote me a letter from prison. Said he was sorry. Said he messed up. Said he hoped one day I could forgive him. I burned it in my kitchen sink. The real twist? Something even I had to face. I looked back at everything and realized I let this go on too long. I ignored red flags. I paid off his brother's debts. I trusted him with my credit, my money, my future. And I didn't ask questions until it was almost too late. So yeah, part of the karma landed on me. But I picked myself up. I learned. And I made sure he, and everyone like him, never gets the chance again.